Hey, speak for yourself, listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now, let's start the show.
Welcome to Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley here. Emmanuel Acho.
You're the worst. You're the guy who starts to realize he looks a little bit better, and then he just starts feeling himself for the rest of the time.
Oh, you comparing me to what you know. I'm comparing me to what I know. I don't look that good yet. But let's get it started in the NBA while you get dressed. All right, James Harden got his wish in the blockbuster 4-team trade that brings the 8-time All-Star to Brooklyn. Harden is forming the NBA's newest super team in a reunion with KD and along with Kyrie Irving. The Nets are currently 7-6, but they now have the second best championship odds, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook, right behind the Lakers. So, Acho, will the Nets experiment work?
No, the Nets experiment will not work, particularly if work means win a championship. Marcellus, somebody has to explain to me how you're going to add 3 problems together and hope for a solution. Somebody got to explain to me how in the world are you going to take a problem, James Harden in Houston, a problem, Kevin Durant with Draymond Green in Golden State, and a problem, Kyrie Irving in Boston and in Cleveland, combine all 3 of those problems together and hope for a solution? I'm reminded of middle school. I'm sure we've all been there. Remember when you would get kicked out of class and you'd have to go to after-school detention?
Hold on. You assume everybody got kicked out of class. I never got kicked out of class.
At one point in time. We all at one point in time, we got kicked out of class and we had to go to detention. When you go to detention, Marcellus, what happens? You are in a congregation of a bunch of people that got kicked out of class. You're in a group of a whole bunch of troublemakers.
Standards.
So while one class can survive with the class clown and another class can survive with the class clown, you want to know what happens when you go to after-school detention and it ain't nothing but a whole bunch of class clowns?
Tell me, Acho.
Pure and utter chaos. All the Brooklyn Nets are about to be is a whole bunch of cats that got kicked out of class, spending time together in detention. This Brooklyn Nets team will not work because you cannot combine several problems together and miraculously think you're going to get a solution.
You had a take about the NBA and a team that's going to win the East, potentially win the entire NBA championship based off a great line that you had. KD's a problem? If that's a problem, that's a good problem to have. You want to talk about this as a detention. This is it's a detention for the NBA. Every team you're going to name, I got the counter for it. But let me talk about this as a real take, not just as a poetic wax that you just tried to do right there. That was crazy. Anyway, all right, I'm all in on this team in the East. You know, on the West, it's Lakers and Clippers, and it's really Clippers and Lakers, but I got to respect the champions. But the East is right, big dog. And the champs are ripe for the picking as well. East, not as dominant. Be real. The East was not looking like it was going to be a dominant conference. Whoever you want to list up there, let's go. Miami, Boston, Philly, Milwaukee. I will counter every one of those. But let's talk about the champs. Let's start from the top down.
Please.
When you look at the Brooklyn Nets and their big 3, now you look at the Lakers, who had a championship roster already because they just won a championship, and they improved in some respects, talking about that same championship roster. But I must remind people that they were a vulnerable champion. Of the 18 champions that have now played in the new series format, which is 4 straight series of 7 games, the Lakers allowed the most points per game, highest opponent's field goal percentage, and highest opponent's three-point percentage. Wait a minute. That means they kind of struggle on defense. And now they're going to see a big 3 of KD, Kyrie, and now James Harden. Woo, you talking about hitting them where it hurts. That's where this big 3 can go and hit them where it hurts. Let's talk about the offense. Simple. This is my simple layers. There's going to be 3 guys on the court at one time that if you look at them in combined scoring average will be 90 points a game. That is if James Harden comes back to form, 34 points a game.
Or if Kyrie comes back.
Or if Kyrie comes back at all. Hey, I'm laughing with you, brother. Where you at, Kyrie? What the hell? You trying to solve the world? You better solve your job. Okay, top 3 scorers on the other teams in the East.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're talking about a team that has 90, right? Brooklyn Nets. Where the Celtics combined? 65. Bucs, 63. We're talking about their stars. 76ers, 62. Heat, 50. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. So in a world where we all know, and you even quoted this when you were trying to take a stab and jab at Nick Saban, that you got to go offensive-minded. Who's going to be able to keep up with this scoring trio? My last point is, when you try to look at the defenses that are going to try and stop and counter this offensive trio, who's going to guard all 3? Your third defender is going to be stuck with who? Kyrie or James Harden with shooters everywhere, with spacing everywhere. Bruh, it's going to be a problem this year for everybody.
I like your take, but the problem with your take is you are only looking on the court, and you're only looking on the names on the back of the jersey. Let's look above the court.
Beyond the game?
Let's look because I think the mind controls the body, both in sports and in life.
Of course.
So let's look beyond the talent itself.
Okay.
Let's talk about the mind. Marcellus, give me team plus talent over talent any day.
Team plus talent.
See, team plus talent to me is greater than talent. Give me a talented team, accumulation of individuals. I'm going to bring up this point because our true basketball heads will remember it. I brought it up yesterday on the surface level, but I'm going to dive in. Let's go a little bit deeper, not wider. 2004, the greatest basketball upset in the finals in the last 30 years. The Detroit Pistons, they upset the L.A. Lakers. Chauncey Billups, big shot. They asked him afterwards, they said, hey, Chauncey, do you really think you should have beat that Lakers team? He said this. Judging by names on the back of the jersey, we should have been swept. Who? Chauncey Billups, big shot. He said, judging by the names on the back of the jersey, we should have been swept. Well, then, Chauncey Billups, why weren't you swept? I'll let him tell it in his words. He said this. We played to their psyche. He said the Lakers had already won 3 chips, and Shaq had won 3 finals MVPs in a row. So what we said was this. Kobe's not only going to want to win, the late, great Kobe Bryant is going to want to win and win a finals MVP. So what was the approach? He said the approach was simple. Double Kobe, single Shaq, get Shaq frustrated. He said because they had more talent, but we had a better team. So many people, and you, including you thus far, coming out with the takes of Kevin Durant's talented, James Harden is talented, Kyrie Irving is talented.
More than talented.
Duh. Can't nobody dispute the talent of it all, but just because you get a bunch of great pieces together does not mean you're going to have a perfect puzzle. I could go grab a whole bunch of pieces. I could grab some of the best musical compositions ever. I could grab some of the best artwork ever. But if we throw that all together, does not mean we're going to have a great picture or a great composition in totality. So yes, KD is great, and yes, Kyrie is great, and yes, James Harden are great, but that does not mean they all going to be great together. I don't believe so.
Well, that's the interesting conversation I would like to have, which is talent and chemistry, that competition, right? Because we know that this team, if it's going to really realize its goals, 2 things have to happen. Either they have to be greater than a sum of its parts, or
talk about it.
They're going to have to out-talent chemistry.
Can you?
Hey, hold on. Can you? Okay, here's some names. I don't know about the chemistry issues in detail, but on the surface, there were some issues. The Miami Heat, when they had their big 3, did they out-talent the chemistry? They won 2 of the 4 championships together.
They didn't.
They didn't win 2 or 4?
No. They didn't out-talent the chemistry. Can we go there or you want to keep going?
I want to keep going.
Go ahead.
Damn, you mean. Okay. Rare. Okay. What about the Warriors? Steph, Clay, KD, Draymond, whatever you want to call that. That makes big 3, big 4. Cavs with LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love. Wasn't that surprise? Bird, Parrish, McHale. Let's go back. Magic, Kareem, Worthy, Duncan, Parker, Ginobili. The point is, there's a lot of different configurations of what the chemistry looked like for those teams, right? But those are all successful big 3s that when meshed together or when seen from afar before we knew what they actually did in resume and performance, there were question marks. You're like, I don't know how that's going to fit. I remember when KD went to Golden State, the first thing was, oh, that's a punk move, which I hated hearing. But the second thing was, well, who's going to be the man? I was like, you know who's going to be the man? The best player. Because guess what? We all are players. When we get on the field, the media speculates. We know the answer. When we get out there, like, oh, he buckets. Oh, he's buckets too, but not the same. And that all figures itself out in natural selection. Man, I just don't see how this can go wrong unless Kyrie just doesn't want to show up.
We about to have a conversation that other shows I don't know are capable of having, because you asked one of the greatest questions I've heard maybe ever in sports. Oh. Can you out-talent chemistry? That's what this whole thing comes down to, big dog. Can you out-talent chemistry?
Hell yeah, you can.
I'm not convinced you can. Let's talk about that Heat team. The first year the Heat lost the finals, they lost to the Dallas Mavericks.
Yes.
Now, on paper, Miami Heat, LeBron James in his prime of all primes, 26 years old, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. That is a more talented team than Dirk Nowitzki, Jason Kidd, Jason Carey, Tyson Chandler.
No
doubt
argument.
about it. I'm from Dallas, so I watched all the Mavericks games.
No argument.
That Heat team is a more talented team. But ask anybody, any basketball head, that first year, LeBron kind of deferred to D. Wade.
That's
going
what
to
the
Miami.
was.
D. Wade is your team.
Yes.
You're kind of as good as me. Not really, but like the world has let you believe that you're as good as me. So there were chemistry issues. Now, obviously, anybody watching would say LeBron choked in that finals. We get all that.
Yeah.
But beyond the play on the court, there were chemistry issues. That team, the sum of the Mavericks' parts, beat the Miami Heat. When the Heat lost again, they lost to one of the greatest team organizations in NBA history, Greg Popovich and them Spurs. The Spurs, you could argue, maybe were as talented.
Duncan still had that thing going, but I'm
like 30, still like
18-foot banks.
Maybe, but I'll give it to you like this. Let's go sports. I love when the fans can get in with us.
Okay.
When I was in Philly, Chip Kelly really loved the Spurs, and because they were great, the epitome of a team. We would watch cut-ups of how many times they would pass the ball before they got a bucket, because that was the epitome of chemistry beating talent and talent on a roster. Team beating talent. Go back to 04 Pistons, greatest upset last 30 years as far as the finals. That was the epitome of team beating talent. There's a quote. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
I love that quote.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I would always say team and talent beats talent when it just talent lives exclusively. So give me Marcellus and Anthony Davis plus LeBron James plus a team organization and organizational structure before you just give me a bunch of talented individuals, big dog.
See, but it's not mutually exclusive.
It's not.
They borrow from each column. Like, there's not another team as talented, top-heavy than this team, right? If Kyrie shows up. Nobody's more talented than them. Okay. So they already have that advantage. But in perception, we think they have a disadvantage in chemistry. But they're going to meet somewhere in the middle. They're going to meet somewhere where that's going to be their performance level in average. Now, is that performance level going to be great enough to beat the teams in the East? Let's talk about Boston. They got the bodies to match up, especially in small lineups, but a lot of one-way rotational players. How are they going to do it when the courts get shrunk, or you also just say, hey, let's forget about it. Let's just go out-talent Boston. Did Boston make it to the finals last year? Okay, whatever. All right, Philadelphia. Man, they've been sputtering, trying to figure out their formula for a long time, despite their talent levels. They look better this year. It looks like it's agreeing. I don't know what's going to happen. Can you really rely on Joel Embiid the entire stretch? We'll see, but I'm not so certain. Miami. Okay, we all know Eric Spoelstra. He's going to work up some magic to come up with some new defensive scheme to try and stop him. But there's so many guys. And even if you want to stop them on the top-heavy level, there's still going to be spacing and shooters out there. Milwaukee. You want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucs? Brook Lopez is going to be out there. Okay, that's fine. You got DeAndre Jordan, whatever you want to do. But they can go small ball on them dudes. Giannis, KD. Okay, bye-bye, Giannis. I mean, there it is. So what's going to happen? Their pathway, I hate to say easy because you got to put in the work.
Of course.
But there is a path of least resistance coming out the East. Now out the West, everybody got to go at it, see what the Lakers do again, see what the Clippers can do and achieve, if not overachieve, based on what they've done the last few years. I just don't see the hurdles in front of this team, man. I get the chemistry argument, except it's more perception than a reality right now.
The reason I think it is in reality, and it's funny because you're arguing basketball, I'm arguing mine. You're arguing talent, I'm arguing psychologically and philosophically. The reason I think that it's a bigger issue is this. Marcellus, Kyrie didn't want to get sunned by one man, LeBron James. Like, Kyrie didn't want to get sunned by one man, LeBron James.
Let's go.
So Kyrie don't want to get sunned by Bron, so he goes to Boston. Okay, get me up out of Cleveland. Let me go be that dude. Okay, you don't really like it in Boston. Get me up out of Boston. Let me go with KD because KD's my dog. Well, now you about to get sunned by two dudes in KD and Harden. Because Kyrie, we always argue, the best handles we've ever seen. It's like a yo-yo with him in the basketball. I get all that.
Real talk.
But James Harden won 3 straight scoring MVPs.
And KD did.
And KD won 4 out of 5 scoring titles. Collectively, between Harden and KD, that's 7 out of the last 11 scoring titles. Kyrie, you're incredibly talented. But without LeBron James...
Oh, don't do...
Look, I'm not making up the news. I'm simply reporting it. Without LeBron James, Kyrie ain't really done all that much. James Harden, he's won scoring titles. KD won Finals MVP and scoring titles. Kyrie Irving has hit big shots.
So what's next? Without Clay, Steph, you haven't...
No, so what's next is this.
What?
Kyrie didn't want to get sunned by Bron. Now you about to get sunned by 2 people, and you think that's going to work, big dog?
Well, I think it's going to work because you're not respecting their maturation process. You're not respecting their basketball IQ. You're not even respecting their maturity levels.
What maturity? What maturity has James Harden shown you, Marcellus Wiley, the last month?
He got what he wanted, and I didn't agree with the way he went about it. But his maturity, he's a leader. He's a scorer. He's a baller.
He'll lead you to a strip club.
No. I've actually been making hurricane. Okay, let me get out of my old issues that I used to have. Don't take me back to that life. James Harden, he was in a position with Chris Paul before the hamstring, in a position to really make it to the finals over Golden State.
Sir.
We saw that, right?
Yes, sir.
The slights on James Harden get exaggerated based on likability sometimes. But I look at this team as a collective, and I use the old adage: a fool learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from others.
Talk about it.
Guess what?
Yes,
if I
sir.
saw the Miami Heat, the only reason why they really didn't achieve all that they could have achieved 4 straight championships is because of chemistry. Guess what? These 3 dudes, especially KD as the leader, he's not a problem, is sitting there like, yo, we're going to be smarter than that, bruh. We know what snipes big threes. The only thing that snipes a big 3 with this talent level, with this disparity in scoring, is chemistry.
Correct.
So all we need to do, we don't have to have 6 classes for our high school semester. We need 1 class.
Sure.
Chemistry.
Sure.
Go to chemistry class. They're already friends, former teammates. They can make this work.
This sounds great, but Marcellus,
It's supposed to.
How you gonna convince Kyrie to go to class when you can't convince him to go to practice? You can't convince Kyrie that the earth is flat or round.
Wait a
you
minute.
can't convince Kyrie of nothing. How you gonna convince Kyrie, hey, look, Kyrie, we can win a chip if we just focus on our chemistry. But where Kyrie right now? I don't know. I don't even know if Steve Nash, the head coach, knows.
No, he doesn't.
I know you don't know.
No, I
don't
know.
nobody know where Kyrie is.
That's
so
a problem.
how in the world are you going to convince him of that? But then the other thing...
But is that your only argument? Because what if Kyrie shows up today? Acho, you want to rewind this take?
even if Kyrie shows up, the issue at hand... The Brooklyn Nets might be better off without Kyrie showing up. Because let's talk, you're so smart, and that's why I love talking on this show with you, because I would lose some people. Some people are like, Asha, what are you talking about? You're so smart. I love it. The law of diminishing returns. The law of diminishing returns. I'm going to break this down very simply for y'all. More input typically means more output. So I get Kevin Durant, more output, we are better. I get Kyrie Irving, more output, we are better. I get James Harden, more output, we are better. Law of diminishing returns. Typically a return, input equals output. But diminishing returns means eventually an input will no longer equal additional output. It will actually be a negative factor. So you get Kevin Durant. You get Kyrie Irving, but the law of diminishing returns says those returns will diminish. Eventually, one of those additive factors will not be an addition, and it instead will be a subtraction. You understand what I'm saying? Just because Kyrie show up with KD, with James Harden, does not mean everything will be better. The Nets might actually be better off with just 2 of the 3 if we being real.
Yeah, well, I just saw the Golden State Warriors a few years ago have a big 3 and break the law of diminishing returns. Because when Steph said, hello, Clay, and then Clay said, hello, KD, it was a wrap for the NBA until the injuries took over. Chemistry issues or not. Acho, I would love to have this take again when Kyrie Irving shows up. Coming up at the top of the hour, we have a lot more on James Harden. We'll tell you if stars forcing trades is a problem for the NBA. But first, all signs are pointing to Urban Meyer as the next head coach in Jacksonville, my Jaguars. We'll tell you what this means for the Jags coming up. That's next. For yourself.
What's up, Speak For Yourself listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before 2 something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, And as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to Speak for Yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Some news looming with the Jaguars as they're reportedly in advanced talks to finalize a deal with Urban Meyer becoming their head coach. Now, Meyer won 3 national championships at Florida and Ohio State. He would be joining a Jaguars team that only won 1 game last season and has the #1 overall pick, which is expected to be Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence. So Marcellus Wiley, let's dive in on this one. I love when college football meets the NFL. Just something about that makes my soul happy.
Because it's you. It embodies you.
What would this move mean for them Jaguars?
Oh, this move. Look, I have to take a deep breath. First of all, is this the same Urban Meyer I just saw over breakfast passing the tater tots? I was like, damn, save me some tater tots. Same Urban Meyer. Wow, this world moves fast. Congratulations if that is going to actually be a reality for Urban Meyer. Let me say this. You look at Urban Meyer in this situation, and I played for the Jacksonville Jaguars for 2 years. You never want to say one man, one person, one player is a savior, but this is as close as you can
talk
get
about it
when you talk about Urban Meyer going to Jacksonville. One, let's just talk about how the game of football, the NFL game, is a business first. He's going to have an impact, a big impact in terms of the bottom line. There are scenes of him landing in a private jet. Last time I checked, most coaches don't just land in a private jet with us filming it, going to the facilities. That's a thing. He's going to be box office down there. Now, when he's box office down there, everyone knows salute, because we have respect for your resume. We're talking about a guy who was 17 years as a head coach in the college ranks, won 3 national championships. Reputation precedes him. Not only upstairs in the organization, where they don't have a general manager, so it looks like some power is going Urban Meyer's way if he becomes the coach, but more importantly, in the locker room when he walks through there. I played for Bill Parcells, Marty Schottenheimer. Salute. I mean, off of day 1 practice, and that's what they need, because the Jacksonville Jaguars have been a mess for at least a decade, talking about them. Now, we know that they had the blip of the AFC Championship game, but if you look at ownership right now, second fastest owner to 100 losses in NFL history. That is the mess that Urban Meyer is going to be employed to fix. But I look at all of this, and I look at him. Is he the man for this job? Absolutely. But there's going to be a fork in the road moment. Not just because of who he is in terms of his coaching ability and his resume, but how he actually transitions to the pro game. Is Urban Meyer at that fork in the road going to become Pete Carroll? Is he going to become Jimmy Johnson? Or is he going to become Nick Saban and be back on that private jet, right back to the college ranks very fast? That is going to be the question for everyone. How does him and his resume transition to this pro game?
I like your take. What does Urban Meyer to Jacksonville mean? I think it means everything. I think it means that Jacksonville is now going to finally get back to some sort of national relevance in the National Football League. When you talk about head coaches, it's not only can you sustain a program or can you sustain a team, can you build a program or can you build a team? We get lost sometimes in, man, this coach is doing a great job winning. Sure, but did the coach help build it or did he just get there and sustain it? Think Ryan Day at Ohio State. Ryan Day is doing a phenomenal job, but Ryan Day just sustained what was built. Think point. Mark Helfrich when he took over for Chip Kelly at Oregon. The next year he did a great job, but he just sustained what Chip Kelly had built. Let's talk about Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, he goes to Utah 2004, 2005. And all of a sudden, they get 10 wins after just having 5 wins years prior. He wins a conference 2 years there. Okay, after he builds Utah up, takes them to a BCS game, bumps over to Florida. Florida, they win their division 3 out of their 6 years that he is there, goes to 2 national championships, and oh, by the way, he won twice. Built a program, sustained a program. Okay, let's hop to Ohio State. Goes to Ohio State, he wins 12 games 5 times and never loses more than 2 games while at Ohio State. So not only is he building a program, he's sustaining a program. Many people say, well, wait a second.
Wait a
college
minute.
coach. College coaches can't coach in the NFL. Look at Nick Saban. He failed in the NFL. But I said, wait a second. I'm not just going to buy that lazy narrative. Did Nick Saban fail in the NFL? Because the Dolphins were 4-12 before Nick Saban got there. They went 9-7 right after Nick Saban got there. Dolphins have only had 4 9+ win seasons the last 17 years. Nick Saban has one of the 4. Uh-oh, wait a second. No coach in Miami for the Dolphins has ever won more than 9 games twice. Uh-oh, wait a second. So Nick Saban, he contributed there. But Nick Saban went 6-10 the year after. Yeah, he lost to starting quarterback, so let's make that make sense. So maybe Nick Saban didn't fail that much as we give him credit for. Urban Meyer to Jacksonville would be huge for the Jaguars, and we can talk about how he can build that program on the next lap.
I'm just mad at me and Urban have a good relationship. You know, hi coach, bye coach, you know, kind of relationship. Hey, son, hell, Marcellus. He didn't invite me on that damn jet, and I'm a former Jag. Like, you got room on the jet.
You hit something on the head, bro, because I didn't think about it till you said it.
Come on, man.
Think about all the head coaching interviews that have taken place the last 2 weeks. I haven't seen a picture of one.
I know how it
Like
goes.
Eric Bieniemy, haven't seen a picture of him.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh, haven't seen a picture of him. Kellen Moore, apparently getting interviewed by you. Haven't seen no pictures.
Yeah.
You said Urban. I said, wait a second.
Yeah. I look at that kind of stuff. I'm caught up in the streets. Like, look, I remember when I was a free agent, and I was the #1 free agent, at least articles were saying that. I was like, yeah. Man, I was on Southwest, bro. And then I look at Brett Favre when he just contemplating where he wants to go. It's helicopters and private. I'm like, boy, it pays to be in that NFL instead of the one I was in. But let's talk about this. I like the point that you said, are you going to build a program? And we look at Urban Meyer at the college ranks, because that's all we can look at. The year before Urban Meyer was at Bowling Green, they were 2-9. Next year, 8-3.
Talk about it.
Hello. Utah, 5-6. So far, loser, 10-2. Ooh, Urban Meyer effect, 7-5 to 9-3 at Florida. Ohio State, 6-7. Ohio State, 6-7.
Yep.
Urban Meyer said, nah, we're going to go undefeated. Let's go to war. So he's built for this, but you made a great point about, is he going to be more of a Jimmy Johnson who took a 1-15 Cowboys team his first year to the Super Bowl, obviously, a couple times, or more of the Barry Switzer, which is just ride whatever's there. And Barry Switzer, even though he got his championship, he just rode the wave, many would say. You can't ride the wave in Jacksonville because there are no waves right now to ride in Jacksonville. This is a lowly team. That's why you get a Trevor Lawrence opportunity at the #1 pick. That's why you're in Jacksonville. That's why the expectations are low based on what their resume is in Jacksonville, but high because of who you are and as a deemed savior for this franchise. A lot of things happening right now, mixed bag of nuts, but it's going to be interesting to see what Urban can do for it.
Let's go deeper because that's what we do on this show. You said something that made me think about something else.
Let's go.
In the NFL, sometimes you get caught having to play some meaningless games. Right, you struggle early on in the season. You realize, man, we're not going to make the playoffs. These games are rendered meaningless. Can you still motivate your team to play even when the games are meaningless? Wait a second. You just said Urban Meyer's first year at Ohio State, they went undefeated. But his first year at Ohio State, they weren't playing anything because they were sanctioned. So he motivated a group of young men to go 12-0, even though he knew they couldn't play for nothing.
And they knew, too, and still ran through those walls.
And still ran through those walls because Urban Meyer led that team and he led that charge. I think the other thing we have to think about is very simple. Before you can get to the playoffs in the NFL, you got to win your division. See, you can't take care of the neighborhood until you take care of your house. You can't do that. Like, don't worry about nobody else, what they eating over there in their kitchen, what they cooking in their kitchens. You got to take care of your kitchen. Now, when I think about Urban Meyer at Ohio State, he won or tied the division lead every single year. If you can do that out there in Jacksonville, you going to be good. Because the other thing you got to consider, Texans, they won twice in a row.
Colts got a squad, though.
Colts got a squad, but the Colts haven't won the division since 2014. Then you got the Titans. Okay, like they look good. They got a squad. But let's talk about this.
It's open.
Look at that division. What's the best quarterback head coach combination? Deshaun Watson and question mark. Oh, we don't know about that. The Colts question mark and Frank Wright. So we don't really know about that. Ryan Tannehill and Mike Vrabel. You could argue that's the best head coach quarterback combination. But you could instantly walk in Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, or I'm going to say Urban Meyer and Justin Fields, because I'm not just going to act like Justin Fields don't exist.
Stop. You know that's over.
I got to say.
Stop rooting.
Or you instantly walk in Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence. They could instantly walk into that division and be the first or second best quarterback coach combination. That means something.
That means everything. But, godly, Horticulture class. Let's go back. Did you ever take horticulture class?
Did not, sir.
Yeah, boy, you walk in that class and the first thing they look at you like, change your clothes. You're like, what you mean? And it's like, we about to go into the field. They give you a hoe and you just start mowing and everything. You got to have fertile ground to plant your seeds. Mm-hmm. Is Jacksonville really fertile grounds?
That's good.
There are players sprinkled there. Trevor Lawrence coming, they got something to mix around in terms of recipe. But when you talk about in the last 9 years, 1 winning season and 8 other years of 6 wins or fewer, that sounds like one big yuck. They haven't found the proper balance upstairs yet between ownership and what is going on outside of ownership in terms of him being hands-on and hands-off. A lot of articles written about this offseason, his approach. He gets Urban Meyer off to a fast start this offseason, but they got to finish the deal. Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer won't be enough for Jacksonville to get over the hump. They need a little more. Coming up, the Browns got an upset win last week. Now they face the defending champs. We'll tell you if the pressure of Patrick Mahomes will get to you, Baker Mayfield. That's next. Speak for yourself. And I'm on fire.
Hey, Speak for Yourself listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to Speak for Yourself.
Saturday on Fox, the Rams take on the Packers. Coverage begins at 2:30 Eastern. Then on Sunday, Tom Brady and the Bucs square off with Drew Brees and the Saints at 6 Eastern. NFL Divisional Playoffs presented by TurboTax, live on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Damn, I love that song. Let's head to the AFC, where the Chiefs are 10-point favorites at home against the Browns Sunday, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. Baker Mayfield threw 3 touchdown passes in Cleveland's upset win over the Steelers last week. Now he's going against Patrick Mahomes. Baker said his team needs to stick with what got them there so far. Take a listen.
I'd say it's about everybody being on the same page and just doing their job. And that makes everybody's job easier. You know, you don't try and do too much. You stick within the plan, do the little details right, and stay efficient. And so the guys up front and the skill guys around me have made my job extremely easy.
So, Archer, will the pressure of Patrick Mahomes get to Baker?
It will not. Marcellus Wiley, Baker Mayfield has realized the secret to adulthood. Dare I say Baker Mayfield has realized the secret to manhood and success. What do I mean? I'm about to go deep with you, Sal. What do I mean? Marcellus, the greatest thing I ever did in my life was look...
Meet me! Oh, sorry.
That was third. The greatest thing I ever did in my life, tangibly, was look myself in the mirror and understand who I was.
Yeah, preach.
After 4 years in the league, I said, Acho, bro, you've been hurt 3 out of 4 years. If you include college, 7 out of 8 years. There's an 80+% chance you're going to get hurt. You're not going to the Hall of Fame, Acho. You're not going to be an all-pro, Acho. So what you still playing for? You got vested, you got pension, you got annuity. Get up out the league. You're not that good. And then I looked myself in the mirror on TV and I said, wait a second, Acho. You might have something here. You might want to stick to this. Marcellus, I realized my talents, I realized my failures, and I finally succeeded in my life. Baker Mayfield has realized his ability, and that is why he is succeeding. In college, Baker Mayfield was medium risk, incredibly high reward. He got to the NFL. He thought he was still going to be medium risk or low risk, high reward. He said, uh-oh, wait a second now. I'm medium reward if I'm low risk. That is the man that I am. I'm a low risk dude with a medium reward. That's why Baker Mayfield's only thrown 1 interception in about the last 11 weeks. Because he understands who he is, and he doesn't care about the outside noise. First couple years he did. That was obvious, that was apparent. But now Baker Mayfield has found the secret to success. Looking yourself in the mirror, understanding who you are, what you're good at, what you are not good at, and leaning in on exactly what it is you're good at. Baker Mayfield, competent quarterback, not overly athletic, not overly strong with his arm, but he's accurate. He can protect the football. He can galvanize his team. That's who he is. He understands that. I don't think that pressure changes him.
Oh, man. You could have done both, played longer and still got here. But, you know, you wouldn't be here right now. So
Correct.
I understand what you're saying. But Baker Mayfield, this is an interesting one because I don't think that the word that I would use is pressure. But I think he will be aware of a foe that so far has gotten the best of him. Let's talk about the 2 times they faced each other. Baker Mayfield in college actually beat Patrick Mahomes, but didn't outperform Patrick Mahomes. You remember that shootout of a game? What the hell were they doing? Imagine if you're Baker Mayfield. You throw for 545 yards and 7 touchdowns. Oh, but what the other dude over there doing? 734 passing yards? So Baker Mayfield's like, well, we got the W, so, you know, you could go to the frat party, and Patrick Mahomes can't. But Patrick Mahomes is sitting there quietly like, yo, I just threw for 734. Okay, so they see each other in the pros. Now, not only does Patrick Mahomes outperform him, but actually gets the victory. Now, I don't think that that's going to matter so much for this outing right here. But when you look at it, as you were saying about looking in the mirror and realizing who you are, the mirror is a beautiful reflection of what reality is in your eyes, right? You look in the mirror, you got to be real to yourself, right?
Sir.
But once you leave that mirror, something happens. You realize what surrounds you. And so the definition of who you are now has a contrast, once you leave the mirror, to who you're not. And guess who you're not, Baker Mayfield? Patrick Mahomes. So in college, you think you Baker Mayfield, you win a Heisman, you the man, you the man, and you the man. But you also had to go to the school where Patrick Mahomes was the man, and you could even get on the fit, so you had to leave that same school. The same school, he's the man. In college, you probably had a better career, but at the pro level, this is Patrick Mahomes' NFL. So no matter where Baker Mayfield goes, it just seems like there's somebody out there that is just a little better than him. It's the Justin Gatlin disease of, I'm the second fastest ever. Yeah, but what does that matter when Usain Bolt's still walking this planet? We got to bring in Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings. So, Greg, will the pressure of Patrick Mahomes get to Baker Mayfield?
No, the pressure won't get to Baker. It obviously have gotten to Acho because he just gave up on the wars of dress code. I mean, what is that?
Nah, I don't even gotta try, G.
I'm not.
You feel me?
I'm not going to even go there.
Get him, G.
I'm not going to even go there. You look like you look like you're behind the cubicle. No knock to those who sit behind the cubicle, but that's what you look like right now.
They don't dress well.
But anyway, Baker Mayfield, he's not going to succumb to the pressure because of what he said. And Acho, I love your point, but Baker has others, and he realizes the impact of those others. And when you think about water and pressure, when it's built up, it's going to find the path of least resistance. Baker Mayfield's path of least resistance is turning around, handing the ball off to Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and letting them boys run through what is not a very good run defense in Kansas City across from him. So that's the path of least resistance. If you keep that guy that you alluded to, Marcellus, that you know in your heart of hearts, he got me. If I go head to head with him, he gonna do a little bit more. I can't do that. So how can I eliminate his opportunities? I keep the ball out of his hand. So if we stay within what we do best, it's not featuring me. It's me being kind of second fiddle, maybe even third fiddle, because you got Kareem Hunt, then you got Nick Chubb, or you got Nick Chubb, then Kareem Hunt, then you go to Baker Mayfield. It's nowhere near Baker Mayfield first.
Yep, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm going to piggyback on what you had to say, G, because look at the last 2 weeks. That's the most pressure Baker Mayfield's faced in the NFL. You got to beat the Steelers to make it into the playoffs, and then you have to beat the Steelers in the playoffs. You play their JV team, as some like to call it, then you play the varsity team. Now, to get into the playoffs, Baker Mayfield, he was Baker Mayfield. 63% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. That's who he is. Then in the playoffs, he was Baker Mayfield. 62% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, but more importantly, no interceptions. In the games, the 2 biggest pressure games Baker Mayfield has faced in his NFL career, he didn't waver. He didn't change. He didn't flinch. But to Greg's point, and this is a point everybody has to realize, Patrick Mahomes has lost 9 games in his NFL career. He's been beat by 9 teams. In those games, the opposing team has averaged 166 yards on the ground. The way to beat Patrick Mahomes, hold on to the ball and run the football. The Cleveland Browns, they average 140 or so rushing yards per game. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb average 173 scrimmage yards. So if the road to success to beating the Chiefs is running the ball, Baker knows that. It's Stefanski knows that. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt know that. Baker doesn't have to be Superman. He surely doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. It's actually best that Baker Mayfield just be Baker Mayfield.
Oh, and that's the problem with Baker Mayfield being Baker Mayfield, because Baker Mayfield is looking at Patrick Mahomes like he's better than me at being me. The quarterback position, that's what's a sad reality when you give all you got. And that dude better than you at everything you do. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes in this moment. These are the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, 4-1. Y'all remember the one? He actually won that game too. But D4 with his offsides, but they had to lose the game. But he hasn't lost basically in the playoffs is what I'm trying to say. Let's talk about points per game in the playoffs. Starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl era. I wonder who's number one. Patrick Mahomes. Oh, so Baker Mayfield's sitting there like, yo, he gonna put up points, and the brother really ain't lost a game in the playoffs yet. And then you look at the Browns team and Baker Mayfield, who is 5-14 in career games when he has to throw the ball 35 or more times. Now, obviously, the formula for them is to run the ball. But what if you get into a shootout? Probably forced into a shootout because Patrick Mahomes, who doesn't lose playoff games, who scores the most points in the playoffs, is your opponent. Oh, that's a problem for this team right here. Baker Mayfield, lowest completion percentage this season of any of the remaining quarterbacks in the playoffs. It's fun. And Baker Mayfield even said it. He gave all the props to Patrick Mahomes. It's fun always trying to keep up with Pat. But the problem is not too many people, if anybody, can really keep up with Pat. Even a close loss to Patrick Mahomes still sends Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns home.
Look, I hear all of that, and I'll be really quick here. When you look at the numbers, they tell you, and even when you don't look at the numbers, you look at this team in the Kansas City Chiefs, you just automatically think they're going to light up the scoreboard. Well, they're only averaging 29 points a game. Why do I say only? Because they've averaged a lot more in previous years. This is not one of those years. They've been kind of up and down. And let's not forget, they've hobbled into the postseason. I say hobbled, even though this team has only lost one time. But the way that they have entered into the postseason is not just lit on fire. And you look at what just transpired last week. Baker Mayfield, the greatest pressure he could have ever been under was last week. Just winning a postseason game, going up against his arch nemesis, his big brother, their big brother, if you will, in the Pittsburgh Steelers. They beat them down. They punched them in the mouth and never got hit back. So when you look at that, they're relaxed. They're playing with house money. They don't care what happens, even though everyone who's going to face the Cleveland Browns is still going to be under the notion of this is still Cleveland. But everyone within that locker room, they don't know though old Cleveland because none of them were there over 5, 6, 7 years. So when we look at this Cleveland Browns team, they're looking like, man, they only scored 29. We scored 26. We got some type of ground we can make up. Let's just go and do what we do and let the cards fall where they may.
I think you talk about, the perception of Cleveland. We got to start to disregard the perception of the Cleveland Browns and get to the reality of who they actually are. Baker Mayfield, when his opponents score 30 or more in the regular season and postseason this year, he's 5-3. Best win-loss percentage when opponents score 30 or more. He actually shines as bright as 20 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. His completion percentage goes up. His passer rating goes up. So when the opponents start to put on fireworks and Baker Mayfield's back against the wall, like Marcellus knows, whether Baker Mayfield puts his back against the wall or finds out that his back somehow happens to be against the wall, that's when Baker Mayfield's greatest form of who he is comes out. So I actually don't see pressure bursting a pipe. If anything, I see pressure turning Baker Mayfield into a diamond.
Man, if there are fireworks, Baker Mayfield and the Browns better duck. I mean, it's going to get ugly out there because... Boy, stop. Like, how did the Browns even get here? I know we're all enamored and some of us shocked at what they did to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the Pittsburgh Steelers started that game and spotted them some points, maybe started the snowball rolling downhill, whatever. But Cleveland took care of business. But don't forget that 3 of their last 4 games, they scored under 25 points, y'all. And that includes playing the Jets and playing the Giants. So when Baker Mayfield looks in the mirror, you know we all did it pregame. Some of us had war paint on. Some of us had that lather on. Some of us had our beats on. And he looks in the mirror and he doesn't see Baker Mayfield. He see Patrick Mahomes. And then he's like, yo, he better than me at being me. That's a problem, bro. Coming up, James Harden is Brooklyn bound. It's Brooklyn in the house, without a doubt. We'll tell you if stars forcing trades are a problem for the NBA. That's next. Speak for yourself. Y'all know y'all did that. You want to speak for yourself, logically? Marcellus Wiley, Emmanuel Acho, best-selling author on top of that, right? Let's get back to James Harden, buckets, and the Nets that added the 8-time All-Star in a blockbuster 4-team trade. Harden forced his way out of Houston and got what he asked for in a new super team with KD and Kyrie Irving. This follows Anthony Davis forcing his way out of New Orleans for the Lakers and Paul George leaving the Pacers for the Clippers. Joined now by Fox NBA analyst Slick Rick the Bucher, but Acho. Are stars forcing trades a problem for the NBA?
Yo, they're a huge problem, fellas, and I'm going to say it 3 ways. It ruins the integrity of the sport. It ruins the integrity of the business. It ruins the integrity of the contract. I can't come on air each and every day and say I hate NFL contracts because a team can cut a player at any point in time, but a player can't quit. But then get on this same network and talk about how James Harden did a great thing by quitting on his team? In what world do we reward bad behavior and then applaud those who are rewarding bad behavior? In what world? Not in our family lives, not in our social lives, and how in the world are we going to do it in our business lives? How in the world are we going to reward athletes for quitting on themselves, quitting on their teams, quitting on their coaches, and to some degree quitting on the fan bases? I can't do it. I won't do it. I can't win with it. So when it comes down to it, I look at it and I'm like, no, this is ruining the integrity of the sport. It's ruining the integrity of the business. And why in the world are you going to sign a contract that pays you upwards of $42 million annually, then not get what you want and completely quit on your team? It's problematic. If we let it slide this time, it's only going to keep going and getting worse. I do not like it.
Man, that virtue signal is so bright. I wish it was blinding me from the violation, the wardrobe violation we have going on. And I'm not talking about being jacket free. I'm talking about the tie clip not matching the watch by any means. This is a flagrant one on E-Man.
I just watch the subtleties.
He broke.
I'm so disappointed.
Slick Rick, line. Slick, that's the
that ring and that watch and that tie clip are not the same.
Thank you.
Yeah, he broke.
Thank you. Acho. E-Man. Look, no, this is so good for the NBA. This show is proof positive of how good it is for the NBA.
Explain yourself.
Yes.
Simple.
I like.
Giannis Antetokounmpo went the opposite direction. He didn't quit on the Milwaukee Bucks. He pledged allegiance to the Milwaukee Bucks.
Correct.
He decided to re-up with the team in that small market that he hasn't been able to win a championship with. And you know what we did with that? Break me up when somebody does something else. Somebody asked me the other day to give them a 30-second synopsis of what's happened in the NBA this season. I said nothing. This was prior to the trade. Nothing has happened. Nobody cares. Then this trade goes down, and I happen to be on the show. And what do? Hold on. We got to do 2 more segments. Look, it captures the imagination of everyone, media and fans. And you may not like how it happened, but if the question is it a problem? Certainly not for the NBA. We're now paying attention in a way that we had not previously. How can that be a problem?
Slick, let me get this straight, America. Slick's take was that James Harden makes Slick Rick's job easier. Slick, you got to be better at TV, my dog, because your boy can be entertaining. I can be entertaining, analyzing water fall from the sky, Slick. It's not my fault you need a James Harden breaking story to make your job a little bit easier, Slick. You just got to get better at putting them words together, Slickety Rickety. That's all I got to say. Marcellus, and my tie-bar match, Slick.
Oh, man, I don't know where to come in on this. It feels like I'm the referee. Break it up, break it up. I'm more with you, Slick, on this one. Look, I don't love it because I was raised different. Like, I honor contracts. Yeah, I'm the fool. My daddy raised me from the principles and the ethics and, you know, do the right thing, son, no matter what your rooting interest may be. But I don't think it's a problem for the NBA as well, like Slick Rick said. It's an interesting play right here that these stars get their way, and through organized chaos, we kind of all benefit. And Acho, not just us as analysts, because our show, being real, when Giannis, I don't think we did a segment on it. I just don't remember doing a segment on it. Because we were like, oh, okay, what else? Now, when James Harden left, how about this? When James Harden was thinking of leaving, we were like, yo, we got a segment here, got a segment here. We got to talk about James Harden. And now he lands, boom, and it's captured my imagination and it's captured our interest. But here's the conversation. Are these good carbs or bad carbs? Let's talk about it. We know that if they're bad carbs, oh, it feels amazing in the moment. And then you feel a little fatigue from it later. Or if they're good carbs, it's going to be long-standing. So is this going to be a great situation for now, and then we're going to look back and say, yuck? Or is it more of like a situation where you see some of these guys who stay still, like a Steph Curry, and things just work out for them for the long haul? Here's the funny thing about all of this. Stars moving around, and, you know, we're going to use LeBron James, obviously, as a line of demarcation and the super team and his decision. Stars moving around is increasing league parity compared to the past, which I think is a little counterintuitive. A lot of people think once you get these dominant stars together, it's a wrap. Well, since LeBron went to the Heat and started the super team thing, 7 different NBA teams have won a title over the last decade. The decade before that, 5. Oh, you see these numbers going down. Decade before that, 4. And the decade before that, 4 as well. It's weird. Like, we thought staying still was going to be the way. But it looks like these guys moving around is increasing parity. Once you increase the parity, you got more fan bases engaged, which is good for the NBA.
I'm not saying that it's going to work. If you look at all of the times in which a player not only left but dictated where he was going to go.
Bingo.
More often than not, it has not worked.
Oh, really?
I'm going to run it down.
Oh, let's talk.
Melo to the Knicks,
Yes,
did
sir.
not work. Chris Paul to the Clippers, did not work. Dwight Howard to the Lakers, did not work. Chris Paul again to the Rockets, did not work.
Paul George.
Kyrie Irving to the Celtics, did not work.
Same notes.
Russ Westbrook to the Rockets, did not work. Paul George to the Clippers,
Talk about it.
hasn't worked
Talk about
yet.
Jimmy Butler.
The only one time that it's worked is Anthony Davis to the Lakers. But that's in terms of winning a championship.
Thank you.
That's not in terms of generating interest and excitement and intrigue. And so, I look, Acho, this is what I appreciate, and I think all 3 of us agree on this. There's a certain part of us that feels that you're just supposed to do the right thing. You do things the right way, and everything is taken care of itself. But this is the entertainment business, and we have a whole generation of fans that have grown up with fantasy sports. And it's no longer an allegiance to your team, and you hope they win, and you sit on your couch and you wear your colors and you follow them. It's a matter of everybody's been enthralled with, I get to pick and choose, I get to trade, I get to see them, like, the transactions is what's the exciting part. And there's some 60 million people in this country who now do that as sports fans. And so this idea of just sitting back and letting somebody else be the GM no longer is captivating enough. It's the possibilities, the moving pieces around and seeing how they work. The hope and the future is what captures the attention of fans now. And that's the reality of where we are. And the NBA taps into that like no other sports organization.
The only minor, not even pushback, I'm just going to give it an aside. The only minor aside I will offer is this. James Harden was already entertaining in Houston. Like, the Rockets were one of the top 6 most entertaining teams in basketball, specifically when they went small ball. Like, they were already entertaining. But beyond that, Slick, I just don't like wasting time. Like, I don't like when somebody calls me, hey, man, can you give me your advice on this matter? We talk for hours on end. We end the conversation. Hey, of course, you made a great point. I'm going to do that. Then you find out the next day they didn't do that. You're like, what you call me for? Like, what I just waste all that time on the phone with you for? So, James Harden, you're going to sign a super max or so deal, $42 million a year with the Rockets. Y'all are going to come to an agreement after all that. And after all that conversation and agreement, you still going to be like, yeah, you know what? I don't really like it here. Let me just get on out of here. I have an issue with that. I have an issue with what that says about the game of basketball and contracts within that.
Man, I am with both of you guys right here. And Acho also, when someone says top six, they mean number six. Yeah, I mean, who is ever top six and really number one? Like, you're top six, whatever. All right, here's the thing. You got to be careful what you ask for if you're James Harden in this situation. Look, I am rooting for Brooklyn, and I think Brooklyn will come out the East. But I do remember through my single days, Acho, you should heed this word right here. You can't marry the finest person you meet. It just can't.
Why not?
Oh, you'll learn.
You can't just say that and keep moving through the segment.
Well, I don't want to get fired.
That's a long conversation.
You're not just going this advice
trust
on
me,
television.
I love me way more than I love you. So you just take that where you want to take it. That's going to be a bar once you get home. Let's talk about this. Which one is it? I swear I am torn in column A and column B because I'm hearing you, Slick, saying this is great for the intrigue. But I'm also hearing Acho like, is this really? Because the ratings versus the internet response is just completely different, drastically different. Rating for the 2020 NBA playoffs were down 37%. NBA Finals down approximately 50%. But we all know sports programming is down, but not to that magnitude, which is pretty interesting. But on the contrast, on the flip side, the NBA has 148 million followers across all of its social media platforms. That's more than all the other U.S. leagues combined, and a 43% growth in social media views in the last 3 years. Why do I bring all that up? Because I don't know if you fans are really watching or just interested in an engagement, but something is going on where it seems like the good carbs and the bad carbs are battling, and we're all sitting there just eating it up. Coming up, damn, I'm good at the teasers. Tom Brady and Drew Brees are facing off for the third time this season. We'll tell you which offense we trust more on Sunday. Next, speak for yourself.
Why can't I marry the finest person? Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. The Bucs and the Saints will meet for the third time this season, Sunday on Fox. Now, Tampa was blown out by New Orleans back in November, but Tom Brady's crew has averaged just over 34 points a game since that loss, while the Saints are averaging nearly 34 points a game since Drew Brees came back from his rib injury 4 games ago. G is back with us, NFL analyst, but Marcellus,
yes.
Which offense do you trust more, the Bucs or them Saints?
Yep, the Bucs. I'm going to have some fun. A running joke, as they say in the business. With Acho saying top six in the last segment when that really means six. Like, ain't nobody ever top six and number one when you say top six. So anyway, here's my running joke. I'll give you 6 reasons why I trust the Bucs more than the Saints. Who would you rather have at quarterback? Tom Brady or Drew Brees? Ooh, check 1 for the Bucs. Number 2, Bucs average more points in the regular season than the Saints. Number 3, the Bucs offense is hotter. Bucs #1 scoring offense in the NFC since week 14. Number 4, Bucs score more points in their playoff game than the Saints did. You remember the Saints, 21 points against Chicago? 31 points against Washington. Number 5, Tom Brady has had a better individual season at the quarterback position than Drew Brees. Injuries, I get it. Number 6, top 6, Acho. Tom Brady is hotter recently than Drew Brees. Last 4 games, my goodness, 12 touchdowns and 1 interception. Versus Drew Brees, not horrible, but 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 98 rating versus Tom Brady with the 122 rating. It's just a better offense that's gelling together at the right time. You're going against Tom Brady, the GOAT. You're going against the greatest, and now he has an offense that is right there with him in terms of understanding and consistency. Yeah, I trust the Bucs.
It's interesting, Stel. If the question was which offense is better, I might ride with you, big dog. I might say, hey, Marcellus, where you going? Let me get shotgun. The problem is, the question is, which offense do you trust more? So now that's contingent upon what defense are they facing. See, I trust the Saints offense because they're going up against the Bucs defense far more than I trust the Bucs offense going up against the Saints defense. Let's talk that where you at full screen. See, the Saints versus the Bucs since 2019, since Bruce Arians got there. Saints are 4-0. They average 34 points a game. Points per game differential, plus 17.5. Net yards a game, 369. Third down percentage, 50 for anybody wondering. A third down percentage right around 40 is great. Third down percentage, 50 is outstanding. I trust the Saints more because I know exactly who I am going to get and what I am going to get from them Saints. When you look at the Bucs, man, they put up 50-some games. They put up 40-some games. They put up 19-some games. When you look at the Saints, consistency. Bucs have higher highs, but they got lower lows. The Saints, you know exactly what you're going to get every time they take the field. For that reason, I trust the Saints more.
It's on me? I was just trying to, you know what? I'm going to talk it and walk it. You know what I mean? Because I figure I don't really have to say anything because, Acho, I'm with you. When you look at this, all Marcellus talked about was that offense. He didn't say nothing about no defense. And we know what means and what matters most when it comes to playoff. It's balance, baby. And the offense, I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. Not against this defense. When you look at all the teams that they played this year, the 5 games that they lost, there were 2 games that they lost by more than 3 points. What games were those? It just happens to be the Saints. Why? Because they just match up really well against this Bucs offense. And when you look at Drew Brees and what he does against this Bucs defense, he gets the ball out quick. So they don't even get an opportunity to get pressure. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. I know a lot of people are going to say, he dinks and dunks. He doesn't throw the ball past 10 yards. But that's okay. He's eliminating the pressure that this team on the Bucs tries to get against this opposing offense. But when you look across the board, Tom Brady, their play is down the field. Their play is 10 yards or more. Watching them, yes, have they meshed at the right time? Of course they have. But this defense ain't changed. You still got Marshawn Lattimore. You still got Jenkins. You still got the Jackrabbit. You still got Moore. You still got Cam Jordan. You still got all these pieces that know how to get after this Bucs team. I like them on defense, which is why I don't like the Bucs on offense.
You can go back to reading that. What's that book again? Go back to reading that book, Greg. That's a great book.
It was a great take. Great book. You know, I'm just learning today.
Fix the world.
I'm just learning.
That boy don't fix the world. Or your hair high on that book. Or your kids gonna be like, Daddy, what was going on? I love it. I can hear it right now. Defense. That's what y'all want to do? You want me to talk defense? Did y'all call me out? Defense. Mortal Kombat time. Finish them. Yeah. I shall talk defense because the Bucs defense was also a top 10 defense, just like the Saints defense. The Saints defense has allowed 5 yards per play, but the Bucs defense allowed 5.1 yards per play. Oh, my God. That sounds like the same. Let's talk about both teams have the exact same number of takeaways since y'all don't think I'm prepared to talk defense. How about the Bucs have more sacks and more quarterback hits than the Saints? Look at y'all faces. And the Saints defense, 29th in the NFL in the red zone this season and allowed touchdowns on over 67% of their red zone drives. Y'all done with me talking defense? You better. Yeah, the producers got in y'all ear. Get up out of here. I got more offensive numbers, too. How about Michael Thomas, who didn't even score a damn touchdown this entire year? Sure. Alvin Kamara held under 100 scrimmage yards in 7 of his last 9 games. Speak for yourself. Whatever y'all want to do, we can do this, brother. All right.
He's still talking?
Terry Bradshaw is raising the Super 6 stakes again for divisional weekend. First, he's putting $250,000 up for grabs on Saturday. Yeah, better than me. For the Rams and Packers. Then on Sunday for the Bucs and Saints, he's sweetening the deal even more by giving away another $250,000. Plus his all-new 2021 Ford F-150. Acho, sticking with the Bucs and Saints, one of the questions is which team will win and by how many points? So, who you got?
Saints by 8, 32-24. Saints over.
Greg?
Okay, I got the Bucs going down.
You had me.
28-24.
I like it.
All right, flip the score. But Tampa Bay wins 28-24. Download the free Fox Super 6 app and make your picks for your shot to win big. All you have to do is correctly predict 6 outcomes for each NFC divisional game this weekend. Coming up. The Browns and Bills have never won a Super Bowl. We'll tell you which fan base deserves to advance more this weekend. This is going to be fun. That's next. Speak for yourself. Great guy.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's head to the AFC, where the Browns and Bills both won their first playoff games in over 20 years last week. Now, Cleveland is one of 4 teams that has never been in the Super Bowl, while the Bills went 4 straight years back before the Marcellus Wiley curse in the 90s. But they lost all 4 of them games. So, Marcellus, which fan base, bro, which fan base deserves to advance more this weekend? Is it the team that drafted you and them Bills?
Yes.
Or the team that drafted me and
We
them?
already know we on different sides of the table. 6 feet, social distance. I'm about to come at you. I'm not that nice opponent that respects his opponents. I disrespect my opponents. Dog pound. Boy, y'all better get up out of here. This is Bills Mafia all day, every day, trending every single way in the NFL. Okay, let's start here. The Bills fan base is deeper, bigger, and it travels better than the dog pound. The dog pound is restricted to one corner of the end zone. And if you really want to talk about fan bases that got it on lock in the corner of the end zone, the black hole with the Raiders is greater than even the dog pound. But let's talk about, the dog pound want to act like they make noise. No, you don't. I can go to Kansas City, louder. I can go to Seattle, louder. Oh, no. We used to wear the paper bags on our face and go, woof, 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 woof. Hey, nobody gives a damn about y'all out there because this fan base is limited. Smaller stadium than Buffalo. Even in Cleveland, this is the kicker. You know what the average temperature is in the winter in Buffalo? We talking about playoff time, January, February, 31 degrees below freezing. You know what it is in Cleveland? It's all warm and 35, 36 degrees. That's above freezing. Y'all ain't even down like us. We sacrifice more. It's more of us. We travel better. It's the Buffalo Bills. Excuse me. Bills Mafia.
I understand the bias, big dog, but which fan base deserves it more? Some Browns. And you talked about all these things, stadium size of the fan base. Remember, it's all about the size of the heart in the person, not the size of the person.
What's this, Tom and Jerry? I don't want to hear that.
It's the Cleveland Browns, bro, and it is because misery loves company. And the Browns had been miserable. Oh, they was miserable. But they were miserable with the Indians. The Cleveland. I don't know. Have they changed their name yet?
Who?
Cleveland.
Everybody is, but you might be ahead of it. It's coming.
They was miserable with the Cleveland baseball team, and they was miserable with the Cavaliers. But all of a sudden, their misery lost their company because a dude by the name of LeBron James showed up. So now LeBron shows up, and the Cavs get good. So now the Browns is looking around like, wait a second. We can't be sorry by ourselves. Y'all not going to leave us out here just to be sorry. The Browns deserve it more because, big dog, the Bills have been to 4 Super Bowls.
We didn't win it?
Yeah, but you went.
But we didn't win it.
You saw success.
Failure, as you say.
You
said that's failure.
You smelled success.
Yeah, but you can't eat.
Is that success?
Yeah.
The Browns haven't even sniffed.
Hey, that's on y'all.
So they haven't taken a whiff of success. So you're telling me who deserves it more? It's the team that has endured more. It's the team that has sacrificed more. It's the fan base that suffered more. Damn the cats that deserve it. Not y'all's Bills fans who got close at least.
How you know anyway? What you talking about? You wasn't there long in Cleveland. How long were you in Cleveland? How many months?
11. I got traded in April.
Yeah, you better defend what was good to me, brother, because Cleveland wasn't even good to you. Left your boy at the Greyhound station with the one-way ticket. You know, when I left Buffalo, they were tearing up, crying, "Oh, Marcellus, we can't afford you." And you over there defending them dudes the way they treated you. You better not be scared when we get there either. You better ride, Minister Society style. Coming up, we got to give Uncle Jimmy his chance to talk about the Nets. Oh, God. That's next. Look at Unc. Speak for yourself. We acting like no punk either. Before we go, Uncle Jimmy is here. We told you what we think about the new look Nets, so now it's your turn, Unc. Take it away.
What up, Unc?
Hey, man, let me explain this to y'all, man.
Blame.
I do understand that this ain't nothing but a remake to the movie Boys in the Hood, right?
Let me hear it.
And if you look at it like that, man, I could think of nobody better in the NBA to play the part of Trey than Kevin Durant.
Okay.
Because y'all got to remember, Trey was that little quirky kid that really didn't want to be in the hood anyway. The only reason he was in the hood, because if you remember early in the movie, he was standing at the chalkboard. And remember, Draymond Green came up and called him an African booty scratcher, and they got into a great big fight. After that, remember, KD's mama made him move to Brooklyn. That's how he got hooked up with Kyrie, a.k.a. Pretty Ricky. Remember, he was the self-centered jock. Remember, he was the one that the only thing he cared about was lottery tickets and drinking Yahoo. He the one that got everybody in the group messed up. Just like Kyrie. All he care about is going to birthday parties and eating hot wings.
That's real.
And speaking of hot wings, the part of Doughboy is going to have to be played by James Harden. You remember Doughboy? That was a little fat kid that went to jail at the beginning of the movie for stealing cupcakes.
See y'all tomorrow.